Dear chosen one, have you ever felt like love keeps slipping through your fingers no matter how open your heart is? Have you ever asked yourself why the deeper your soul becomes, the harder it gets to find someone who can truly meet you there? If you've ever felt like you're walking through life with a heart full of love and a spirit full of purpose, yet still without a partner to walk beside you, then this message was written specifically for you. You are not imagining it. You're not being punished. You are being protected. Protected by divine design. Protected from connections that could derail your mission. Protected because your love is sacred, your calling is rare, and your soul requires something deeper than most people are willing to offer. As a chosen one, your relationships are not just emotional, they are spiritual. They carry weight in the unseen, and because of that, not everyone can walk with you. Today, we're going to dive into the 8 dark things, the hidden, often painful truths that can cause chosen ones like you to remain without a partner. These aren't surface-level observations. These are spiritual revelations designed to help you understand that your path is different for a reason. There is purpose behind every delay, every heartbreak, every long night spent alone. And once you understand that purpose, you'll stop questioning your journey and start trusting it. Before we begin, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who has donated through Super Thanks. Your generosity keeps this sacred work alive, and I am endlessly grateful. Whether you've donated before or are just arriving now, please know this: you are deeply appreciated, and your energy helps this message reach more souls who need it. If this message finds you at the exact moment your heart needed clarity, type 777 in the comments as a signal to the universe that you're ready to receive what's meant for you. And if you're drawn to messages like this, messages that speak to your spirit, awaken your purpose, and remind you of your divine identity, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and stay close. This is more than content. This is confirmation. Now, let's uncover the 8 truths that explain why love for the chosen ones is not ordinary, and why that's exactly how it's meant to be. God's chosen ones. 8 dark things that can leave you without a partner. 1. Your energy is too intense. Have you ever wondered why people seem captivated by your presence but rarely stay long enough to understand you? Why some are drawn to you like a moth to flame, only to retreat as if they touched something too hot to handle? What if the very thing that makes you magnetic is the same thing that makes you misunderstood? Chosen one, the truth is both painful and powerful. Your energy is too intense for most people to carry. You weren't created to be ordinary. Your soul operates at a higher frequency, vibrating with divine codes, ancient wisdom, and spiritual fire. It's not just your words or actions that make people pause. It's your presence. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts. Conversations slow down. People sense something is different about you, even if they can't explain it. This is not ego. This is evidence of the spiritual mantle placed upon you by God. The Bible speaks of this kind of intensity in Exodus 34:29 through 30. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets, his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. And when Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. Moses didn't ask for that glow. He didn't try to intimidate anyone. The light came from intimacy with God, and it frightened people who hadn't stood in the same presence. The same happens with you. Your energy is radiant, not because you seek attention, but because you have been in deep communion with the divine. But here's the shadow side. Your energy, while sacred, can be overwhelming for those who haven't done the inner work. Many people are not used to being in the presence of someone who lives authentically, speaks truth without apology, and carries pain and power in equal measure. They might admire you from afar, desire you deeply, but when it comes time to stand beside you, they waver. Why? Because you reflect what they are not yet ready to face within themselves. You carry an emotional and spiritual intensity that can't be dulled or dimmed, no matter how hard you try to tone it down. And honestly, chosen one, you weren't made to dim, but relationships require energetic alignment. And when your vibration is too high, others feel like they're gasping for air, trying to keep up. Have you noticed how you often become a mirror for people's shadows? You don't even have to say anything. Your presence alone triggers their insecurity, guilt, hidden shame, or suppressed purpose. And though you are kind and non-judgmental, they associate you with inner discomfort, not because you hurt them, but because being around you reminds them of what they haven't healed. This is exactly what happened to Saint Francis of Assisi. After his radical transformation, his family and friends no longer recognized him. Some saw his passion for God as madness. Others felt judged, not by his words, but by his mere existence. His purity made them uncomfortable. His vision exposed their complacency. Just like you, he wasn't trying to be better than anyone. He was just walking in obedience, and that walk made others retreat. Psalm 34:5 says, "Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame." You, chosen one, are radiant because your soul reflects the glory of the one who called you. But with that glory comes weight, spiritual weight, that not everyone is strong enough to carry. You may have had someone deeply interested in you. Maybe they said all the right things. They were attracted, maybe even emotionally invested. But over time, they began to withdraw. They couldn't explain it. Neither could you. But now, you realize it wasn't about your appearance, your personality, or any flaw in you. It was about your spiritual voltage. You were never too much. They were simply not ready. There's a story that perfectly illustrates this. Harriet Tubman, the woman who led hundreds of slaves to freedom through the Underground Railroad, was known not just for her bravery, but her spiritual presence. Those who traveled with her testified to supernatural guidance, visions, and protection that surrounded her. But not everyone had the courage to walk beside her. Some were paralyzed by fear and turned back. Not because Harriet failed, but because her intensity exposed their fear and forced them to choose: stay bound or walk into freedom. Being around a chosen one is exactly like that. It requires people to confront their fears, grow beyond their comfort zone, and surrender control. Most people aren't ready for that kind of transformation, especially in love. 2 Corinthians 2:15-16 tells us, "For we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ. To the one we are an aroma that brings death, to the other an aroma that brings life." This verse reveals a deep mystery. The same energy can be healing to one and repelling to another. It's not about you, it's about who they are when they meet you. Chosen one, stop blaming yourself when connections break. Your energy is not the problem. Your light is not too bright. Your depth is not too deep. You're not losing love. You're being protected from shallow waters that can't support your spiritual depth. Look at Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest minds of modern science. His spiritual and mental frequency was so elevated that many labeled him eccentric, even mad. Despite his brilliance, he died alone, but not unloved. Just misunderstood by his generation. He wasn't made to be ordinary. Neither are you. When you enter relationships, you bring transformation. But transformation is rarely comfortable. Some partners might initially feel inspired by you until they realize that being with you means their life must change. You don't just date, you activate, you awaken, you stir the slumbering parts of a person's soul. And if they aren't ready to rise, they'll flee. So what can you do? You can't shrink yourself, nor should you, but you can honor your own energy, recognize its sacredness, and wait for alignment. God won't let your destiny partner miss you, but your partner won't be found among those who want convenience. They'll be forged in the fire like you. They will see your intensity and not flinch, because they've been through it too. Romans 12:11 says, "Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord." Keep your fire. It is the very thing that lights the path for others, even if they walk away before they reach the end of it. And remember what Jesus said in John 3:20-21, "Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light." Those who walk in truth will never run from your light, they'll run to it. And while you're waiting for someone who doesn't see your power as a burden but as a blessing, let me leave you with this story. Joan of Arc, a teenage girl chosen by God to lead an army, carried a fire in her spirit that terrified kings. Men twice her age feared her certainty. They couldn't understand her calling, and yet she never apologized. She said, "I am not afraid. I was born to do this." You too were born for something great, and those who are afraid of your fire were never meant to stand in it. So don't settle for someone who only loves you in dim lighting. Wait for the one who brings oil to your flame, because you're not just a partner in love, you are a partner in destiny, and anyone who joins you must be ready to rise with you or be consumed trying to hold on. 2. You see through people's masks. Chosen one. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and instantly known they weren't being honest with you? Have you sensed discomfort behind a smile, fear behind confidence, or emptiness behind charisma? What if this ability isn't just intuition, but a divine gift? What if your ability to see past the surface is exactly what sets you apart, yet simultaneously leaves you feeling alone in relationships? Most people operate with masks. They smile when they're hurt. They compliment while harboring resentment. They present confidence to hide insecurity. But you, chosen one, are not deceived by appearances. God has wired you to see straight through pretense and into the soul. That sight is not just emotional intelligence, it is spiritual discernment. 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And because you are made in His image, you carry that same inner vision. It's what makes your presence feel intense. When people look at you, they feel seen, not just physically, but spiritually. And while being seen sounds like something everyone would want, the truth is far more complex. Most people fear being truly known, especially if they haven't yet learned to face themselves. When you walk into their lives, chosen one, their masks begin to melt. Not because you ask them to remove them, but because your very energy demands honesty. They may say you're too much, or too much this time, or toma, or tutuaun. Tutui sestum, insasatus, and titurentunt, tanchasi turentines. But what they really mean is, I can't hide from you. This is the same dynamic Jesus experienced with the Samaritan woman at the well in John 4. She came to draw water alone, avoiding the judgment of her town. But when she encountered Jesus, he said to her, "You have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband." John 4:18. He wasn't condemning her. He was revealing the truth that no one else dared to confront, and instead of being offended, she was transformed. "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet," she said, because she knew she had finally met someone who saw her for who she truly was. You carry that same divine insight, chosen one, and while some may welcome it, most will retreat from it. Not because of your fault, but because of their fear. Let's ask something uncomfortable. What happens when your presence demands authenticity in a world that thrives on illusion? The answer is painful. Most people will run. They don't run because they don't like you. They run because they don't recognize themselves in your mirror. They have become so accustomed to performing, to hiding, to curating a version of themselves that feels socially acceptable, that being around someone like you, someone who sees past the act, is terrifying. And this fear often leads to withdrawal, ghosting, or emotional shutdown. You're left wondering what went wrong, but the truth is, nothing did. You simply saw too much. A powerful example of this is Anthony Bourdain. Known for his raw vulnerability, sharp insights, and soul-level commentary on life, culture, and human suffering, Bourdain was loved by the world, but often confessed his loneliness. He could travel the globe and connect with strangers, yet feel isolated in his personal relationships. Why? Because when your soul can't tolerate superficiality, few can meet you in your depth. You, chosen one, experience something similar. You're not attracted to charm, you're drawn to substance. You don't fall for sweet talk. You listen for emotional maturity. You crave vulnerability, but not everyone is ready to offer it. And because you refuse to settle for shallow, you often find yourself walking alone. Ecclesiastes 1:18 says, "For with much wisdom comes much sorrow, the more knowledge, the more grief." This verse captures your reality. Seeing through others doesn't always feel like a blessing. Sometimes it feels like a curse. You see the self-sabotage in people who pretend to be strong. You recognize the manipulation behind gestures others celebrate. You know when someone's "I love you" is real, and when it's just a line. And no matter how much you want to give people the benefit of the doubt, your soul won't let you ignore the truth. You don't want perfection. You don't expect people to have it all figured out, but you do demand honesty. You need someone who's emotionally evolved enough to say, "Here I am, flaws and all, but I'm not hiding." Sadly, most people don't even know who they are behind the mask. And when they meet someone like you, who can name their wounds before they admit them, they either lean in or they run. That's why romantic relationships are so difficult for you. You're not afraid of people's darkness, but most people are afraid of you seeing theirs. Frida Kahlo understood this reality. Her paintings were brutally honest. She put her suffering, her dreams, her heartbreak, and her soul on canvas. People loved her work, but not everyone loved her. Her lovers admired her fire, but couldn't always hold it. Her insights made her mesmerizing and tragically alone. You too are an emotional artist. You create connection through truth. You bond through spirit. And anyone who can't meet you there will end up retreating into shadows you can't pretend not to notice. Isaiah 11:3 says, "He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes, or decide by what he hears with his ears." This kind of discernment is rare. It's what makes you dangerous in a world built on facades. And it's what makes you holy in a time of spiritual famine. People might be attracted to your light, but they won't stay if they're not willing to confront their shadows. But don't let this discourage you. You're not being rejected. You're being reserved. Reserved for someone who wants to be seen. Reserved for someone who has done their inner work. Reserved for someone who doesn't run from the truth, but welcomes it. Because true intimacy, chosen one, only happens when two people are brave enough to remove their masks, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Psalm 139, 1-2 reminds us, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar." God created you to know and be known. Deeply, spiritually and honestly. And while others may settle for flings, illusions and Instagrammable love stories, you are wired for covenant. Your heart doesn't beat for surface-level pleasure. It beats for purpose. And until someone comes into your life with the courage to be real, God will keep you hidden. Not because you're being punished, but because your truth is too sacred to waste on performance. So, don't shrink, don't stop seeing, don't apologize for calling out what others ignore. Your gift is divine. It's disruptive, yes, but it's also transformative. When the right person appears, they won't just love your ability to see. They'll crave it. They'll say, "I've been waiting for someone like you. Someone who sees me, not just my smile, but my scars. Not just my strengths, but my soul." Until then, chosen one, let your vision remain sharp. Let your discernment be your guardrail. And remember, the ones who run from your truth were never meant to be trusted with your heart. Only those who stand steady in the light deserve the love of someone who sees through darkness. 3. Your purpose comes first. Have you ever found yourself pulling away from someone you loved? Not because the feelings weren't there, but because your spirit whispered that the path they were on didn't align with the one God carved out for you. Have you ever chosen silence over companionship, solitude over company, because your inner calling demanded more of you than a relationship could provide? If so, then you already understand one of the deepest truths about being chosen. Your purpose always comes first. While the world idolizes romantic love and places relationship status on a pedestal, you've always felt something different pulling at your soul. From an early age, there was a knowing, a deep sense that you were born for something far more significant than the ordinary path. You weren't designed to merely settle down, raise a family, and blend into the scenery. You were destined to disrupt patterns, to awaken sleeping hearts, to carry out an assignment so sacred that even heaven holds its breath when you step into alignment with it. Jeremiah 1:5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." This isn't just about Jeremiah, it's about you. God set you apart before time began. And when God sets you apart, He places a weight of purpose on your shoulders that reshapes how you engage with the world, including how you approach relationships. Most people enter relationships seeking companionship, comfort, or societal completion. But you, chosen one, are wired for alignment. You don't just ask, "Do I love this person?" You ask, "Does this relationship align with my divine assignment?" And if the answer is no, no matter how charming, attractive, or convenient that connection may be, you are willing to walk away, not out of coldness, but out of covenant. Your first loyalty is to the throne that called you. This is where heartbreak often comes in, because potential partners, no matter how well-meaning, can't always comprehend what it means to be with someone chosen. They may feel like you're distracted, like they'll never be first in your life. And in a way, they're right, because your obedience to God's voice must always take priority over emotional desires. And when your purpose speaks, you answer. Let's consider the story of Florence Nightingale, a woman born into wealth and privilege in Victorian England. Her family expected her to marry well and live a life of leisure, but Florence heard a higher calling, a divine pull toward serving the sick, reforming hospitals, and fighting for dignity in healthcare. She refused marriage proposals, lost friendships, and endured misunderstanding from nearly everyone around her. Why? Because her purpose came first. And because of her obedience, she transformed the medical world. You carry that same vibration, and not everyone will be able to walk beside you as you follow it. Matthew 6:33 reminds us, "But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." You don't neglect love, chosen one. You just don't chase it at the expense of your calling. You don't idolize relationships because you know that everything you're seeking will come after you seek the kingdom first. This is why others might feel left out, unseen, or not prioritized. It's not that you lack emotional capacity. In fact, You love more deeply than most, but your love is tethered to truth, not convenience. You're not interested in spending time with someone who will anchor you to the ground when you've been called to fly. And this is where many relationships fail. People want access to your light, but they don't want to rise to your altitude. You weren't born to compromise your mission for comfort. You weren't created to fit into traditional molds that suffocate your calling. Your path is not linear. It is prophetic, demanding, and sacred. And it often requires saying no to people who would distract you with their desire to be your priority when God must remain your focus. One of the most misunderstood figures in this context is Vincent van Gogh. He was deeply spiritual, once training to become a preacher before pouring his revelations into painting. His life was filled with isolation, largely because his intensity, purpose, and passion were too much for others to carry. He didn't fit societal norms. He didn't marry. And though he loved deeply, he was misunderstood and rejected repeatedly. But his work changed the world, not during his lifetime, but long after. That is often the fate of the chosen, misunderstood in the moment, immortalized in the mission. Romans 8:28 promises us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Notice the wording, those who have been called according to his purpose. Not popularity, not romance, not even personal fulfillment. Purpose. When you walk in your purpose, even the painful goodbyes, the lonely seasons, and the empty rooms are part of your divine preparation. God doesn't waste your solitude. He sanctifies it. You might wonder, will I ever find someone who understands this part of me? Someone who doesn't compete with your calling, but complements it. Someone who doesn't distract you from your path, but strengthens your pace. The answer is yes, but only after you have mastered choosing purpose over preference, mission over comfort, and divine timing over emotional urgency. And chosen one, make no mistake, your life is not on pause until someone loves you. You are not incomplete without a partner. You are already walking in union with your Creator. And if someone joins you, it must be because God sent them to walk with you, not detour you. You have too much to do to be detoured now. Consider the life of Sojourner Truth, a woman born into slavery who escaped and became one of the most powerful voices in abolition and women's rights. She traveled alone, slept in strangers' barns, and preached God's message across hostile territories. She never married again after leaving bondage, and yet she changed the spiritual and social fabric of a nation. She wasn't chasing love, she was chasing liberation, and in doing so, she fulfilled a divine mission that still echoes through time. Philippians 3:14 says, "I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus." That is your anthem, that is your compass. And sometimes pressing forward means leaving behind people who would slow you down, not because they're bad people, but because they're not called to your destiny. You will be misunderstood. People will say you're emotionally unavailable, too focused, too intense, or too spiritual. But do not fold to their opinion. Your spiritual assignment is too precious to bargain with, and the right person, your divine partner, will never compete with your purpose. They will recognize it, revere it, and run alongside it. Until then, trust God's timing. Keep showing up for your calling. Keep pouring into the mission. Your love story will not be found through chasing affection. It will be found in alignment with God's orchestration. One day, someone will look at your fire and not feel threatened. They'll feel home. They won't beg for attention. You'll naturally give it, because they won't distract you from God. They'll draw you deeper into Him. So don't apologize for choosing purpose over romance. Don't let loneliness trick you into forgetting your worth. The one who is meant for you will be sent, not stumbled upon, and they will see your purpose not as a problem, but as proof that they've found someone chosen by God. 4. You experience frequent awakenings. Chosen one, have you ever woken up one day and felt like your entire worldview had shifted overnight? Have you ever looked at the things, people, or relationships that once brought you joy and suddenly realized they no longer resonate? Has your spirit ever moved so quickly that it left even you confused, wondering why everything familiar now feels foreign? If you're nodding in recognition, it's because this isn't random. It's part of your divine wiring. You experience frequent spiritual awakenings because your path is accelerated, sacred, and unique. While others may move through life at a steady, comfortable pace, you undergo radical transformation again and again and again. And while this is a blessing, it often comes with deep relational consequences. The truth is, chosen one, your soul is in constant evolution. You are not meant to stay the same. The revelations that come to you in dreams, in silence, in moments of divine intervention, these are spiritual upgrades. They aren't coincidences. They are summons from heaven to rise to the next level of your calling. But with every spiritual promotion comes a shifting of the ground beneath you. And often, what once felt like love begins to feel like limitation, not because the relationship was fake, but because you've changed. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" God doesn't consult your comfort zone when it's time for you to grow. And your frequent awakenings are not flaws. They are divine interruptions that pull you higher. But each time you ascend, the air gets thinner. And many people who once walked with you can no longer breathe at your altitude. This is the part most people don't understand. They think love should be constant, that if you commit to someone, everything should stay the same. But your reality, chosen one, is different. You don't evolve by choice. You evolve by spiritual necessity. Your growth is not optional, it's your lifeline. And when someone refuses to grow with you, they inevitably grow apart from you. Take the life of Tina Turner. She began her career in a turbulent, abusive relationship that almost destroyed her. But after a profound spiritual awakening, sparked by her discovery of Buddhism and deep inner work, she left it all behind. She walked away from everything she had built because her soul outgrew her surroundings. People were shocked, critics judged her, but she followed her awakening and in doing so created a legacy that transcended music. She became a global icon of strength, resilience, and spiritual power. That same inner fire exists in you. The challenge: most partners won't understand this process. They'll say, "You've changed," as though that's a betrayal. They'll ask, "Why can't we go back to how it was?" Not realizing that your spirit won't allow regression. And when you try to explain it, words fall short. How do you describe a transformation that happened in your soul? How do you explain that it's not that you've stopped loving them, it's that you've stopped fitting inside the identity that relationship required you to be? Romans 12:2 instructs, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This isn't just poetic, it's practical. Your mind is constantly being renewed. Your consciousness is being upgraded by divine timing. And when you shift, the world around you must shift, or fall away. That includes love. This is why relationships for you often have a shelf life, not because you're incapable of commitment, but because you're unwilling to sacrifice your ascension for attachment. And make no mistake, you are fully capable of deep, soul-altering love. But the love you offer requires movement. It demands evolution. It cannot stay stagnant. If the person you're with resists growth, the relationship becomes a spiritual cage. And the chosen one can never stay caged for long. You are designed for expansion, and expansion creates friction. Not everyone can endure it. Take George Harrison, the lead guitarist of the Beatles. At the height of his fame, he underwent a massive spiritual awakening that drew him into Hinduism, meditation, and a complete reorientation of his values. While the world adored the band's music, Harrison's soul was being pulled in a new direction. His awakening created internal conflict, not only with the band, but with relationships that no longer mirrored his growth. He wasn't becoming distant, he was becoming divine. And so are you. Relationships built on who you were cannot always sustain who you're becoming. That's why many connections fall apart after your awakenings. People say you changed, but they fail to see it as elevation. They experience it as abandonment. They don't understand that your silence isn't coldness. It's recalibration. Your need for solitude isn't withdrawal, it's divine preparation. Your sudden shifts in vision, values, or energy aren't emotional instability, they're spiritual upgrades. Psalm 25:14 reminds us, "The Lord confides in those who fear him. He makes his covenant known to them." You receive revelation because God trusts you. You feel shifts before they're visible. You know what needs to be let go of before it crumbles. And because of that, your steps are often misunderstood, especially in relationships. Sometimes you'll be the one who initiates the separation. Other times, the universe will create a rift that feels heartbreaking but necessary. Either way, you'll find yourself back in solitude, not because you're unlovable, but because the connection no longer matches your current spiritual identity. And this cycle, awakening, detachment, solitude, can feel like a curse when your heart longs for someone to walk beside you. You may ask, why do I always end up alone after I grow? But here's the truth. You're not being abandoned. You're being realigned. You're not being punished. You're being purified. Look at Simone Weil, the French philosopher, mystic, and social activist. Her entire life was marked by spiritual awakenings. As her consciousness expanded, she left institutions, jobs, even countries to stay aligned with what God was showing her. Few people understood her. Fewer still could walk with her. But today, her writings are studied globally for their spiritual depth. Her solitude wasn't a sign of failure. It was the soil where revelation took root. James 1:4 urges us, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Growth requires perseverance, and perseverance often requires walking away from what no longer supports your soul. You can't stop the process, even if it costs you temporary comfort. So, chosen one, don't grieve the connections that couldn't evolve with you. Don't resent the relationships that couldn't rise to meet your latest revelation. And don't apologize for the ways you've outgrown old versions of yourself. You are not here to remain palatable. You are here to expand, to elevate, to transform, again and again. The one who is meant for you will not just love who you are, they will love who you're becoming. They won't cling to your past. They'll celebrate your progression. They won't fear your spiritual shifts. They'll mirror them. And until that person arrives, your path may be walked alone, but it will be walked in truth. Let your awakenings continue. Let your revelations unfold. Let your evolution remain unshaken by the fear of being misunderstood. You are not too much. You are just too awakened to pretend otherwise. 5. You don't fit into social norms. Chosen one, have you ever felt like you were born in the wrong era, the wrong culture, or even the wrong planet? Have you ever listened to conversations about dating, gender roles, or love expectations and thought, that doesn't resonate with me at all? Have you been labeled too different, too complicated, or too intense because you refuse to play along with the rules everyone else seems to follow? Why does it seem like the more you try to love truthfully, the more the world demands that you conform? Why do your most honest intentions often make others uncomfortable? It's not your imagination, it's not rebellion, it's not dysfunction, it's your divine distinction. The world has its systems, and those systems have scripts. There are pre-written roles for men and women, timelines for love, expectations for what a relationship should look like. Get married by 30, have kids, take vacations, post happy pictures, achieve the look of success, even if the soul underneath is starving. But you, chosen one, were never made for that script. Your life is not a pre-written movie. It is a spiritual manuscript still unfolding, and society has no language for it. Romans 12:2 commands clearly, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." You weren't designed to conform. You were sent to transform. So it's no surprise that when it comes to relationships, you struggle to fit into the narrow boxes that others accept without question. From a young age, you probably noticed this dissonance. While others were rehearsing romantic fantasies or planning their futures around wedding dates and social expectations, you were searching for something deeper. You didn't want just a partner. You wanted a connection that spoke to your soul. Not someone who just looked good in pictures, but someone who felt right in the spirit. Have you ever walked away from someone who had everything on paper, but nothing that resonated with your soul? Have you ever felt the ache of being misunderstood, not because of who you are, but because of what you refuse to be? You've likely been in relationships where others tried to mold you, pressuring you to act a certain way, to want certain things, to be more normal. Maybe you've been told you're too intense, or that your standards are too high. But deep down, you know the truth. You are not complicated, you are called. Consider Bob Dylan, one of the most influential songwriters in history. Throughout his career, he was criticized for being unpredictable, unorthodox, and resistant to labels. When asked why he didn't conform to expectations, he said, "I change during the course of a day. I wake and I'm one person, and when I go to sleep, I know for certain I'm somebody else." Dylan's refusal to be boxed in made him polarizing, but it also made him powerful. He followed the pulse of something higher, not the applause of the masses. And so do you. How many times have you chosen peace over popularity, purpose over partnership, freedom over fitting in? In love, this means you don't seek partners based on status, appearance, or social approval. You seek resonance. You crave relationships built on depth, spiritual alignment, and emotional transparency. You reject the dating culture that revolves around image, transaction, and short-term satisfaction. You aren't interested in being someone's checklist partner. You want to be their divine mirror, their spiritual equal, their co-creator in purpose. But here's the challenge. Most people are not ready for that kind of love. They want predictable, familiar, easy to understand, and when they encounter you, free, bold, unconcerned with rules, they don't know what to do with you. You don't behave the way a woman should, or love the way a man must. You don't chase, perform, or submit to shallow standards. And because of that, people often label you as difficult or too much. How many people have been intrigued by your light, only to run when they realized it came with fire? How many have fallen in love with your soul, but fled when they saw your spirit wouldn't be tamed? Galatians 1:10 asks, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." You don't live to please people. That's why society's expectations don't fit. Your role isn't to fit in. It's to stand out, to break patterns, to reveal new ways of being, even in love. Your vision for partnership is radical by earthly standards. You believe in divine timing over dating apps, in soul contracts over romantic timelines, in spirit-led connection rather than socially accepted rituals. You don't need flowers, vacations, or public displays to know you're loved. You need vulnerability, honesty, and sacred alignment, and you're willing to walk alone until you find it. Take Emily Dickinson, the brilliant poet whose work changed literature forever. She lived most of her life in isolation, refusing to conform to society's expectations of marriage and social life. Many saw her as strange, but her inner world was richer than most could fathom. She didn't write from imitation, she wrote from insight. And she wasn't alone because she was unworthy of love. She was alone because the world could not meet her at her frequency. In the same way, you may find that fewer people get you. You may attract many, but connect deeply with very few. That's not rejection, it's refinement. God is sifting. He's not trying to deprive you of love. He's protecting the purity of your heart until it meets its mirror. Have you ever felt like you were waiting for someone who doesn't just see your difference, but shares it? Someone who doesn't ask you to tone down, but rises up? Proverbs 29:25 warns, "Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe." If you begin chasing social validation, it will entrap you. You'll end up in a relationship that looks good on the outside, but rots your spirit from within, and you've already tasted that kind of decay. That's why you walk differently now. You might ask, will I ever find someone who understands this freedom? The answer is yes, but they will be rare, like you. They will not be impressed by performance or tradition. They'll value your soul, your essence, your difference. They won't ask you to shrink. They'll love the very things others tried to fix. Look at David Bowie, a man who reinvented not only music, but the concept of identity. He broke every mold, gender norms, artistic expectations, fashion rules, and he found love in Iman, a supermodel and humanitarian who didn't want him to be normal. She loved him because of who he was, not despite it. Together, they created a partnership outside of the spotlight's noise, deep, aligned, and spiritually rich. That's the kind of relationship you deserve. 1 Peter 2:9 proclaims, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession." Chosen people are never ordinary. They are sacred, different by design. And you, chosen one, were called to live, not in alignment with culture, but in alignment with kingdom. So let them call you strange. Let them misunderstand you. Let them swipe past your profile, walk away from your honesty, mock your standards. You are not here for their comfort. You are here for divine connection. And the partner God sends will not be confused by your difference. They will be captivated by it. They will not want to change you. They will change with you. 6. Your vibration rejects the wrong people. Chosen one, have you ever felt like people walk away from you without warning? That potential relationships crumble before they even begin? Have you looked at others surrounded by friends, partners, admirers, and wondered why your energy seems to repel more than it attracts? Why do people seem to fade from your life right when you begin to feel something forming? Let me tell you the truth that most people can't see. It's not rejection, it's divine redirection. It's not failure, it's energetic filtration. Your frequency is sacred. It's been tuned by fire, forged in prayer, and sanctified by every season of your becoming. And because of that, not everyone can stay near it. You don't chase people away. Your vibration simply won't allow anything that doesn't belong to linger. You were not created to entertain low vibrational connections. Your heart is too pure, your soul too elevated, your calling too high. While others may attract drama, toxicity, or manipulation and call it love, you have been wired for something far more holy. The very energy that flows from you acts as a spiritual filter, rejecting people who are not aligned with your light. Proverbs 4:23 reminds us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." You don't just protect your heart with wisdom, you protect it with frequency. Your soul has been calibrated to operate on a divine wavelength, and anything that attempts to enter without alignment is instantly repelled. Not because you're defensive, but because you're divinely guarded. You may wonder why you've spent so many seasons alone, why your love life hasn't unfolded like others, why every promising spark seems to fizzle out before it fully ignites. But what feels like isolation is often preservation. God doesn't allow everyone access to you because you're too sacred to be mishandled. Your vibration sends a silent but powerful message. Only those who are real, healed, and aligned may remain. Have you ever experienced moments where someone seemed drawn to you at first, but then pulled away without explanation? Perhaps they couldn't maintain eye contact. Perhaps they suddenly ghosted you. Perhaps they accused you of being too intense or too spiritual. What you were witnessing wasn't personal offense, it was energetic incompatibility. Their soul couldn't breathe in your atmosphere. Your energy revealed what they were hiding, and their spirit rejected the exposure. Look at the life of Nina Simone, the legendary singer and activist. Her music carried a frequency that was political, spiritual, emotional, and unapologetically raw. She sang not just to entertain, but to awaken. And because of that, many in her life, romantic partners, friends, even fans, couldn't stay. Her intensity, her truth, her vibration was too much for those still rooted in illusion. But she didn't lower her tone to please them. She amplified it and made history. So do you. Isaiah 59:19 declares, "When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him." That standard, your energy, is heaven's way of setting boundaries without words. You don't always need to say no. Your spirit says it for you, and what leaves is not being lost, it's being removed. But let's ask an honest question. Why does this still feel so painful? Why, if your vibration is a gift, does it sometimes feel like a curse? Because your heart still longs for connection. You still desire to be seen, to be held, to be met. You don't want to repel love, you just want to repel what isn't love. But in a world where counterfeit connections are everywhere, your spirit rejects 90% of what others celebrate. You can't fake compatibility. You can't force resonance. You can't bond with what God never sent. Think of James Baldwin, the prophetic writer whose work cut through lies and exposed truth with surgical precision. He often spoke of his isolation, not because he was bitter, but because he saw too much, felt too deeply, and refused to settle. His vibration couldn't be diluted, and as a result, few could walk closely with him. And yet, his legacy endured. His truth healed generations. You are carrying that same energy. Psalm 91:9-10 says, "If you say, 'The Lord is my refuge,' and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent." This is what God does for you. He creates spiritual no-fly zones around your life. People with secret intentions may try to enter, but they won't feel comfortable. People with ego-driven love may pursue you, but they won't last. People with unhealed wounds may desire you, but they won't have the discipline to grow into your frequency. And so, they fall away, not by your doing, but by divine design. You don't need to keep asking, why do they leave? Instead, start asking, what am I being protected from? Every disconnection is God's way of making space for deeper alignment. But chosen one, here's the beauty of your refinement. Once the noise falls away, you become a magnet for the rare ones, those who match your vibration, those who speak your language, those who feel like coming home. You weren't meant to attract the crowd. You were designed to attract the called. Think of Misty Copeland, the first African-American woman to become a principal dancer in the American Ballet Theatre. Her journey was not easy. She was told she didn't fit the mold. She was rejected by many schools and systems that didn't understand her uniqueness. But she didn't change herself to fit in. She kept dancing at her own rhythm. And in doing so, She created a new frequency in an old world. That's what you're doing. And those who belong to that rhythm will find you. 1 John 4:1 instructs, "Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God." Your energy does this automatically. You don't test with manipulation or suspicion. You test by being your true, radiant, unfiltered self. And that self acts like a tuning fork. Anything not vibrating at the level of truth will fall out of resonance. So what should you do during those quiet seasons, when no one seems to stay, when every connection fades, when loneliness tries to lie to you? You rest, you refine, you raise your frequency even higher, because someone is being prepared, not to just meet you where you are, but to rise with you. Someone is being awakened, not to change you, but to walk in alignment with everything God made you to be. Someone is out there who won't just tolerate your vibration, they will match it. Until then, let your frequency speak louder than your fear. Let your energy filter out what words cannot. Let your vibration be your shield, your guide, and your spiritual compass. You don't need to force love. You just need to hold your vibration long enough for the real ones to arrive. So, no more mourning what fell away. No more questioning why it didn't work. No more begging for understanding from people who were never meant to carry your light. You are vibrating on heaven's frequency, and only those tuned into the divine will hear the call. 7. You value depth over surface connections. Chosen one, have you ever sat across from someone and realized mid-conversation that while their words sounded kind, their soul wasn't present? Have you ever smiled through a date or a dialogue that felt hollow, knowing in your spirit that something deeper was missing? Have you ever asked yourself, why does everyone else seem content with this, but I feel empty inside? This isn't because you're too sensitive or too complicated. It's because your spirit has matured beyond surface-level connection. You've been through too much. You've healed too many wounds. You've peeled back too many layers of your soul to ever be satisfied with a connection that stays on the surface. You don't seek attention. You seek resonance. You don't need flattery. You need truth. In a world driven by speed, validation, and shallow desires, you walk a slower, sacred path. While others chase thrills, you pursue purpose. While many are looking for someone to fill a void, you're waiting for someone who reflects your depth. You don't just want to be seen, you want to be known. And that desire for depth, it's not weakness, it's the mark of the anointing on your life. Psalm 42:7 says, "Deep calls unto deep at the noise of your waterfalls. All your waves and billows have gone over me." This verse speaks directly to you, chosen one. Your soul is calling for something deeper, not because you're demanding, but because you were never created to live shallowly. Your heart echoes with the frequency of heaven, and only those who also journeyed through the depths can meet you there. But let's be honest, this path is lonely at times, isn't it? You see others falling into relationships surrounded by constant company, even finding comfort in conversations that would bore you to tears. And you wonder, am I asking for too much? Am I too intense? Should I just lower my standards? The answer is no. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for what's real. And that kind of love is rare. Take Haruki Murakami, the Japanese novelist whose work is known for its introspective, soul-searching themes. In interviews, Murakami often admitted to feeling isolated in his youth, not because he was antisocial, but because he couldn't tolerate meaningless interactions. His desire to explore the subconscious and the spiritual led him to write novels that millions now treasure, but it cost him traditional popularity. That's what happens when your spirit is wired for depth. You will often stand alone. When you enter relationships, you're not impressed by job titles or physical appearance. You want to know what someone fears at night, what their soul grieves, where they find God in the silence. And this desire quickly filters out 90% of people, because most haven't been taught to live from that depth. Many are still hiding behind roles, images, or wounds they haven't yet confronted. You can sense it instantly, and you don't judge them. You just know you can't connect with someone who refuses to go below the surface. Hebrews 5:14 reminds us, "But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil." You crave spiritual nourishment. You can no longer live on relational milk. You've been trained by experience, refined by heartbreak, and now your soul rejects anything that feels emotionally malnourishing. You can't pretend that small talk feeds you. You can't fake laughter when your spirit is bored. You can't keep explaining your value to people who only want a highlight reel version of you. Have you noticed how quickly you can feel when someone is interested in you for who you are versus what you represent? Have you experienced the emotional exhaustion that comes from being with someone who's physically present but spiritually absent? How many times have you walked away, not because you didn't care, but because your soul whispered, "This isn't home"? One powerful example of this is Ava DuVernay, the acclaimed director behind films like Selma and When They See Us. She has openly shared that her commitment to storytelling and spiritual purpose often made romantic relationships difficult. She said, "I'm not going to sacrifice my peace, my mission, or my truth for surface love." Her ability to wait, despite social pressure, has made her a force of depth and vision in a shallow industry. She didn't chase love, she cultivated alignment. That's what you're doing, chosen one. You're not behind. You're being preserved. John 4:23-24 tells us, "Yet a time is coming, and has now come, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks." This is not just about worship, it's about alignment. You can't be in love with someone who doesn't value truth. You can't build with someone who lives in illusion. Because your life itself is worship. Every decision, every connection, every silence. And if it doesn't flow from truth, it doesn't belong in your life. People may say you're being too picky, but this isn't about pickiness. It's about protection. You're protecting your energy, your calling, your future. You're not looking for a partner to post online. You're looking for someone whose spirit matches yours behind closed doors. You're seeking someone who can hold your hand and your soul in the same moment. Think about Franz Kafka, the philosopher and author who wrote with a haunting sense of spiritual tension and inner conflict. He longed for deep connection, yet struggled to find someone who could understand the spiritual density of his thoughts. Though deeply romantic, his soul's depth made him a mystery to most. He was not hard to love, he was simply difficult to reach. You may feel this too, not because you're closed off, but because you're too open for someone who's not ready to be fully seen. So, what should you do when the surface-level world grows louder? When pressure builds to just settle? When even your loneliness tries to lie to you? You stay anchored in who you are. You trust your depth. You keep waiting, not in desperation, but in expectation. Because while many relationships are built on chemistry, yours will be built on covenant. While others search for someone to fill time, you're seeking someone to build eternity. Ephesians 3:17-18 encourages us that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you may have power to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ. This is the love you were born to reflect, deep, spiritual, grounded, divine. And that's why shallow love will never be enough. You carry the blueprint of heavenly love, and nothing less can satisfy your heart. So, chosen one, don't dim your soul to match a world built on shadows. Don't pretend to be satisfied by surface just because it's available. Your depth is a gift. a sacred river carved through lifetimes of refinement. And when the right soul finds you, they won't fear the current, they'll dive in. Until then, your solitude is not a void, it's a sacred sanctuary where your soul is being prepared for what it truly deserves. 8. The universe is preparing someone special for you. Chosen one, have you ever stared at the ceiling in the middle of the night and whispered, "Why am I still alone?" Have you ever watched others fall in love easily, get married effortlessly, or settle into companionships that look comfortable, even if you know they lack depth, and thought, "What about me?" Have you ever questioned whether your standards are too high or worse, whether you're destined to walk this path forever without anyone to walk it with you? If you've asked these questions, let this truth anchor you today. Your solitude is sacred, not accidental. You are not alone because you are unworthy. You are alone because you are being set apart for someone just as rare, just as chosen, just as called as you are. The world often views singleness as a sign of lacking something: beauty, desirability, flexibility, or even normalcy. But in the spiritual realm, singleness is a season of refinement. The universe doesn't let you settle because it refuses to allow mediocrity to taint the magnitude of your calling. You are not designed for a convenient love. You are being prepared for a divine partnership, one that requires both of you to be shaped before you meet. Ecclesiastes 3:11 affirms, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart." Your love story isn't unfolding late. It's unfolding on time, in God's time, not the world's. And when eternity is written into your heart, ordinary timelines will always feel like poor fits. But let's go deeper. Why does your journey feel so long? Why must your heart be broken so many times? Why the silence, the ache, the waiting? Because divine partnerships don't begin with romance. They begin with refinement. You are not just being prepared to meet someone. You are being shaped to carry something together, a mission, a ministry, a movement. And in order to handle that kind of weight, you must first become whole. You must first learn how to love yourself, heal your inner child, forgive the past, and elevate your energy. You are not just becoming someone who wants love. You are becoming someone who can hold love in its fullest form. Think about C.S. Lewis, the brilliant theologian and author of The Chronicles of Narnia. He was single for most of his life and long assumed he would die that way. But in his later years, he met Joy Davidman, a fiercely intelligent poet and writer who had also walked through profound pain and transformation. Their connection was instant, spiritual, and unshakable. They weren't just companions, they were co-missioned by God. Lewis later wrote, "I never expected to have in my 60s the happiness that passed me by in my 30s. What if your greatest love is not behind you, but waiting in a divine hour you cannot yet see?" Romans 8:25 reminds us, "But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently." Chosen one, your waiting is not passive, it's powerful. Every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every closed door is training your soul to receive something bigger than you could imagine. While the world rushes into connection for comfort, you are being taught to wait for covenant. But what about them? Your person, your twin flame, your soulmate, are they out there too? Yes. And just like you, they are being broken and rebuilt. They are shedding false identities, confronting inner demons, and learning how to stand in their truth. You're not the only one walking through fire. They are too, because only the fire can burn away what doesn't belong, leaving two souls who can recognize each other by vibration, not appearance. This is why, when you finally meet them, it will not feel like falling in love. It will feel like coming home. You will know them, not just from this life, but from the spiritual blueprint that was written before either of you were born. Have you ever felt as if a part of you was always missing, even though you've been whole for years? That's because the one assigned to walk with you in this lifetime hasn't arrived yet. But the ache isn't a flaw. It's a signal, a reminder that something sacred is coming. And when it comes, it won't be rushed. It will be undeniable. Take the life of Jane Goodall, the renowned primatologist. For many years she walked a solitary path, immersed in her calling, misunderstood by most. But through her journey, she found a partner in her work, Hugo van Lorwick, who didn't try to tame her, but expanded her world. Their love wasn't traditional, it wasn't easy, but it was deep, aligned, and purposeful. That's the kind of connection you're being prepared for. Not one that just fits into your life, but one that multiplies it. Isaiah 40:31 declares, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." You are not just waiting, you are ascending. You are being lifted above the ordinary so that your partner can find you in the realm of destiny, not desperation. This kind of love doesn't happen through striving. It happens through surrender. So what do you do in the meantime? While you wait, you become. You become the version of yourself that your future partner deserves. You continue to deepen your faith, expand your capacity to love, sharpen your discernment, and walk in joy. Not because you have someone, but because you are someone. You weren't born to cling, you were born to attract. You weren't created to chase, you were created to prepare the space for when heaven says now. Consider Nicole Hannah-Jones, the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist behind the 1619 Project. Her work, her voice, and her spiritual integrity required a path that few could walk with her. But she found someone who didn't shrink in her presence, but stood beside her. Not because she lowered her light, but because he brought his own. That's what you're waiting for. A union where your power is matched, not muted. 2 Corinthians 6:14 teaches us, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness?" This is why God won't let you pair up with someone who isn't ready. The weight of your calling is too precious to be shared with someone who hasn't been prepared for it. So yes, chosen one, you walk alone for now, but you walk forward, and with each step you are getting closer, closer to someone who will hold your soul with the same reverence you hold theirs, someone who will meet you at your frequency, recognize you in spirit, and never ask you to explain why you are the way you are, because they'll see it and they'll know. And when that moment comes, when you lock eyes and feel the silence roar louder than any word could, everything will make sense. The waiting, the tears, the nights you wondered if God had forgotten you. It will all become the sacred soil that birthed this miracle. So don't give up. Don't question your worth. Don't rush the process. The one who is meant for you is being refined by the same fire, rising through the same spiritual storms, and moving toward you with every choice they make to honor their calling. Your love story is not delayed. It is divinely scheduled. Beloved chosen one, if you've made it this far, it's no accident. You were meant to receive this message in this exact moment, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. If you've ever felt isolated, misunderstood, or questioned why love continues to feel just out of reach, know this: you are not broken, you are being built. You are not abandoned, you are being aligned. The depth of your soul, the vibration of your spirit, and the magnitude of your calling have never been ordinary. And because of that, neither can your love story be. You are not meant for fleeting attention, shallow validation, or temporary companionship. You are meant for covenant love, the kind that doesn't ask you to shrink, but expands with your light. The kind of love that will not be scared of your intensity, your awakening, your purpose, but will recognize it as holy. And until that love arrives, Every moment of solitude, every tear shed in silence, and every unanswered prayer is not wasted. It is sacred preparation. So keep walking, keep rising, keep shedding old layers that no longer serve you. The more you become who you truly are, the more you magnetize the one who is truly meant for you. And when that moment arrives, when soul meets soul with no resistance, no confusion, only clarity, you'll understand why God made you wait. True love was never late. It was being refined, just like you. Thank you for staying until the end, for opening your heart, and for honoring the depth of this message. Your presence here means more than you know. If this message has spoken to your soul, and if you feel called to support this sacred work, you can donate through Super Thanks. Whether you choose to give or not, please know that I am deeply grateful for your presence, your energy, and your spiritual journey. Just being here is already a blessing. Please like, subscribe, and share this message with someone else who walks this divine path. Someone who, like you, was never meant to settle for less than heaven's best. May you be blessed with patience that outlasts the doubt, clarity that silences confusion, and a love that meets you exactly where your soul has been waiting. Until we meet again, chosen one, keep glowing, keep growing, and never forget, the love you're waiting for is already waiting for you too.